You are, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to call this Finance Committee meeting to order, and we'll begin with the invocation. I'll ask Councilor Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this beautiful weather. Lord, we just ask that everything we do up here on this dais reflects the will of the people that we are elected to support. And Lord, we just ask that everything be done and to give you the glory and the honor that you deserve. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Move on to item number 4, which is the Greenville County Library Budget Millage Request. We have Mr. Hill and Mr. Baxter. If you'd like to come forward, and I will say that this is the first time that I've been able to sit and hear about a millage decrease, so I'm excited to hear about it. So welcome.
Well, what do you want to hear about it? I can give the elevator speech or an hour-long talk about it.
Whatever you think you want us to know.
No, we had noticed that due to the way things were progressing over the last few years, we asked for I've been on the board 20-something years, and the only time we asked for an increase was when we built the Five Forks library, and we asked for an increase there because of staffing and things that, it was a bigger deal out there. And from that point forward, that's when the things started happening with increase in values and that kind of thing. So we were taking in more than we were spending, even though our budget showed that we needed it when we got down to the end of the year due to some salary situations and that kind of thing. We didn't need all that, and so our fund balance began to grow. And when we looked at it, we said, hey, we could take $500,000 under the current value of the mill, and we could remove that from our ask, and we'd be okay. We've got we'll still have enough to meet the requirement of a rainy day fund, that whatever you call it, that reserve fund that we've got up and above what our annual needs are. But that will, as you can see on the document that was sent to you, we've got enough to reduce that millage by that $500,000 and still fund everything that we've got going for the next foreseeable future that we ran it out.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and get it started with a discussion. If anybody has anything they want to share or questions they'd like to ask, and we'll go from there.
Yes, I've got a question, please. You've already answered this, I feel like, but I just want to make sure there's not any cuts in salary or anything to anybody's or anything like that.
I know it's kind of the standard thing to say. Well, I'm glad you asked that question, but I really am glad you asked that question.
Right.
I've gotten the craziest letters, and I usually don't write back to some of them, but I wrote this one back and I said, we haven't cut the salaries. In fact, we increased salaries. You can look at your salaries and wages, and you can see that salaries went up there. Part of that, just a little over $300,000, is is for the new Blue Ridge Library branch that's going in. But the rest of that is raises for the staff, and so and I didn't introduce Ken when I said up here. He's up here crunching on a lifesaver, and he reminded me he was here. Yeah. So Ken Baxter is the head of the finance committee at the library, but we didn't reduce. Now, what I think where that came from was when we were first presented a budget that the staff at the library, they put together something that they would propose, and we got it, and the increase to salaries was like a 17% increase. And the reason it was so high was because they were trying to do a catch-up that this group that we had come in and study salaries, they came in and said, our salaries are a little behind what they are even at the county for a similarly situated position with similar requirements for the people who work there and that kind of thing. And so they were trying to catch that up and also do an increase for inflation. And there was one other, it's not CPI, but it's it's a government type of, what is that, Don?
Employment Cost Index.
Yeah, ECI. So if you put all those together, it came up with like a 17% increase. We said, well, we're not going to do that. And so I think what the people who saw the first one thought that when we came down off of that, it's sort of like when you listen to what they're talking about in Washington. They talk about they're going to cut the budget, and all they're doing is they're cutting the increase. But so we didn't cut it from what it was from the prior year. We just cut it from what was being asked, and it brought it down to a more modest amount of increase. But to hear it from the things that were, I had one person that wrote me and said, this is almost verbatim, please don't decrease the budget, increase the budget. What are you trying to do? Kill democracy.
Yeah.
I don't know where they get killing democracy from the library budget, but that's the kind of stuff I was getting.
Yeah.
But I asked them, I said, who's saying that we're cutting the budget and starving librarians? You know, you'd think they would be out front with a cup in their hand as you drove into the library, the way the emails I was getting, but none of that was true.
So that's good. So you're able to cut and still keep everything basically as is with modest increases or
Yeah,
appropriate increases?
we cut the ask going forward,
Right,
okay?
yes.
And we didn't cut what we were paying anybody that's already in place.
Gotcha.
And in fact, we gave them an increase, I think that's a little bit more than what county employees are getting, I think. What I've been told anyhow.
I thought we were still under county, even when our increases were still under county.
We are under, as far as what the salary study showed, we are a little under where the salary should be, but we're not under, well, the increase is what I'm saying, is the increase we're making over what they were being paid is more than what county is getting an increase for their employees. But we're still a little under where we should be, and as a result of that, we may have some more turnover, and it may be a little harder to find people to apply for jobs when Spartanburg Library is paying more perhaps or something like that. But there is no decrease. And something else that just occurred to me, I remember hearing, I wish I'd have heard it before the last meeting because it came up, but is that every salary that we have is not underpaid. There's some that are about where they're supposed to be, there's some that are over, and there's some that are under. And so what they were trying to push in earlier was to get everybody to be at least equal or greater than what it should be to help with recruiting positions and that kind of thing. But it's not like everybody over there is underpaid, and we're running a rock yard or something, where they're all out there, breaking big rocks into small rocks or something.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Long. Anybody else? Councilor Collins?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, thank you. Sir, thank you both for being here. I appreciate that. And just for the record, we'd all like to be paid what we're worth, what we think we're worth. Amen?
Yeah.
Okay. And I agree with that. What would you say the equivalent job of a librarian staff at either level? What's your equivalent in the local area?
I'm sorry.
Something that comparable.
Yeah, give me a comparative position, say a librarian, because when I check at Michelin, BMW, Barnes & Noble, what would your example be?
Yeah, I don't know. We were looking at, I had this similar question, I think, if it's what you're asking. I was asking, when they did that salary study, what did they look at? Because, you can't go to industry or whatever and find somebody that does the same thing as a librarian. But what they looked at was what kind of education was required, the hours they were working, and what duties they might have. You couldn't be putting up books necessarily at some of these places, but you have similar requests. They're not working at Tractor Supply putting 50-pound bags of feed on the
Right,
shelf.
absolutely. And that was not my question. Absolutely. Yes, sir. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What about the school district? Use that as comparative?
Well, that, to the extent, yeah, that's a county or a government type position. The idea was that government positions, a lot of times they were underpaid a little bit for what was in the public sector because they had a pension that the public sector didn't have. So you could work for 20-something years or 30 years, whatever it is that you retire with a government job, and you get that pension going forward, whereas that same benefit is not available to you in the private sector. So there's a trade-off.
Right,
And so that's
absolutely.
why they need to compare apples and apples.
Correct. And so you would say the benefits package as a librarian in Greenville County, would that be equivalent to or better?
Could be better than, and a lot of times you get better health insurance, better pension benefits. That
Right.
kind of-
And I did a survey just in my quick time in the last week as far as what do you think the benefits of having a government job in the county or state? And the number one answer of 62% was the benefits package. So the pay was number 4.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but we want to look at that long-term benefit package because that's what a lot of us look for.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, I'm a small business. so-
Unless you're a councilman.
Yeah.
Forgive me, Lord. But yeah, so that's good. So you said the last time you got a millage increase was for the Five Forks branch?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember how much that was?
I don't, but you will. How much was that, Bill? You remember that? Was it a quarter mil?
I think it was maybe 2 mil.
Yeah, I
2
think it was
mil?
2.5.
Okay.
Okay,
That much? I don't know. It depends, well, it all depends on what the the value of the mill
Right.
was then. So who
right,
knows?
right. And what is the current value of the mill now? Do you have that on?
I think it's
About 3.4 million.
3.4 million.
Yeah.
That's correct. Thank you. Absolutely. Okay, so you got the, say, 3.4 mil, a millage rate. So you look at that and you haven't requested any more. So you're trying, so now you're saying you're dropping a half mil for the second budget year, not this current budget year, correct?
No, this is for this current one. We've lowered what our income is expected to be for the upcoming year, and even with that, we're in good shape.
Okay. So, and then my other question would be, if I just have a comparative thing. I've been doing a little survey from the different libraries. I'm in the Five Forks area, Simpsonville, Five Forks. And every Tuesday and Thursday, I drive by a Barnes & Noble. And this is maybe apples and oranges, but it's just a comparative study I've been doing for like last quarter. And I drive by the main branch of Simpsonville, Five Forks, and every once in a while I come downtown to the main library. Well, in those particular hours between mostly 6:30 and 9-ish, 8:30, 9, they're vacant. But Barnes & Noble is packed. I'm just wondering what the,
6:30 to 9 at night?
yes. I'm just wondering, because, forgive me, and this is only my comparative analysis when I do that. I'm a numbers guy, so I run numbers till I can't see straight. So what I'm asking is, what is the difference as opposed to someone who has free books and services as opposed to someone who sells books and services? And I don't think it's the Starbucks because they weren't that packed either.
I was about to say it's the Starbucks for my
No,
wife.
sir.
She goes in
I
there
knew that
all
was
the time.
coming. That's why I made a footnote.
Yeah.
Don't you think it's a lot of letters I get talk about how the library is like a family, and mothers and kids go there during the day when everybody else is at school. They go there and they gather, have family time, read books. And you go over, you look at it, I'm doing that time today, and I bet you can't get a parking space.
Okay. Yes,
But
sir.
by the time you go at 5 and 6, they are home.
And that's
Those
fair.
folks are.
That's fair.
And then you might have working people there then, probably looking for jobs and things like that. But,
That's fair.
But during the day, you can't get a space.
Because I also checked on the salaries with that for a particular Barnes & Noble regional manager who controls 5 to 7 Barnes & Noble stores, and their average salary is $69 to $70 or $92,000 a year. And that, of course, that would include $18,000 in bonuses for sales and productions. So I'm just kind of looking at that, and I have not checked the SCAC stat for librarians or staff, but it just looks a little lopsided to me with the benefits being the main package for my constituents. And so that's the other thing. I've got one more question, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Because when you go down to the capital outlay, you go from FY '25, 520,000, to 0 in '26. The other major difference I see is the property taxes, okay? That was an increase. I see that as a check, so there's an increase there. And other local taxes, you're about $180,000 there, up. The state aid went up to about $200,000. And your fines and fees came down about $20,000, and that's good. So I'm still showing gifts and miscellaneous went up almost $80,000. And I understand those gifts and memorials and miscellaneous has to be used within the community they were given to. I did my work in the library statute. So, and then salaries and wages, I got that. Benefits, I get that. It's a liability for any business. Library materials went up about $100,000, and your facility went down.
Yeah,
Can you explain the facilities going down?
yes, what we did was we noticed that we had some big ticket items that would normally be in the facilities line, and we moved those things off of the operational budget, and we said if we're gonna do those things, we'll do it out of the capital fund that we've got, instead of pulling it out of the operational budget.
And how much is your balance right now in the capital funds? Do you have that?
What was that, Don?
We'll finish this year with roughly 13 million.
Okay, so you have,
After paying for our new Blue Ridge branch.
yes, sir, after paying for it. So you'll have an end up of balance sheet, $13 million. Okay. So let me continue on.
Capital project.
Right, okay, what's the other funds that you would have laying around, like a general fund?
Operational, you got
Operational?
operational and capital, yeah, and the operational, that's the one that we have to keep at 25 to 35%
Percent
of.
of your
yeah.
budget, yes, sir,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Okay, and how are we looking on that? Still in that 25 to 30%?
It's more than that.
Okay, so it's more than, what would you say is more than?
I think after this change is expected to be, what was it,
We're about 70%
70, yeah.
of our estimated revenue.
Okay, can you give me a number on 70%?
Our undesignated fund balance right now will finish up at roughly 19 million.
Okay, so you got 19 and 13, so you're looking pretty good, and that's good stewardship, and I appreciate that. And that's reflective on both the board and you gentlemen there. So other transportation expenditures, and that's the bookmobile,
That's right.
basically? Right, okay. All right,
And,
then
there's vans that go between the branches and move materials around, that kind of thing.
yes, sir, thank you. And then your contingency plan, and basically that's just for, can you explain that to me real quick?
We put stuff in there for contingency purposes that, like something will come up where, like we had a generator for the bookmobile or something that if it goes out, then we had to replace it. We would use contingency funds for something that's probably not correct. But I'm drawing a blank right now, but we're all the time having a contingency fund that we use that for something that is unexpected,
Correct. Okay.
And Alan, I can help in
Yeah.
answer that as well. We set that based on the county's financial policies at 2% of our estimated revenues. That's a driven number for that. We may use it, we may not. All expenses in that have to be approved by the board, but it is set at the same dollar amount that the county uses for their.
And that is in the county finance policy?
That's right.
Yeah, okay, yes, sir, thank you. Okay,
Yeah, and that's the way that our operational fund balance would grow, would be, they would have that kind of thing in there, but the board would not approve of a lot of that. Well, the reason we got as much money as we have is because we're pretty tight, and we don't approve just anything that comes down the pike, that's set out in front of us. Just because, there's some people that, just because we got money, we ought to spend it, or else if we don't, then they're going to take it away,
Yes,
that kind
sir.
of thing. But we're just, if we don't think it needs needs to be done, we just don't vote for it.
So basically, on your budgets you propose right now through your committee, and you did a good job doing that, and I appreciate that, is what is your millage rate right now for this fiscal year going forward in this budget request?
6.3.
Six.
Currently, it's 6.8, but this budget reflects a 6.3 for operations.
6.3 with 13, and what was the other balance, 17?
19.
19 and 13 respectively. Okay, and you're wanting for, you said 5 point, what was it, 6.3?
6.3.
Okay, yeah, 6.3.
For operating and 1.2 for capital.
Yeah, and that's all the, and please forgive me, but this, like I said, I've been running the numbers, and just, for a 6.3 millage increase with the salaries and everything not going down.
No,
is-
not 6.3 increase.
No, 6.3h millage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you hung increase on the end of that.
No, with salaries.
Okay, yeah.
But, and that's the best they can come up with, 6.3. And no disrespect, Matt, I'm just saying, I was looking more in that 4 area, and what would a 4 mil, how would that alter any type of thing going forward? I'm just asking because I've got many emails.
Yeah, we looked at I wanted to go to a 1 mil decrease.
Hit that gavel, Mr. Chair. No, forgive me.
But when we ran the numbers, it put us in the red for the next 5 or 6 years on our operation. We would be delving into fund balance constantly for the next 5 or 6 years at that, assuming certain rates of growth and all that.
And which fund was that, the capital funds or the
Operational.
operational funds, which is stated at what per policy?
It's,
25 to 35% is where the fund balance.
Right, and you're at 35% now, so how would 35% of the fund balance go down within a year or 2 years?
No. You've got, in government accounting, of course, it's fund balance,
No,
right?
yes,
So you're up on this, of course, but, so the fund is not what's going in the red. It's the budget of every year, the amount that we're taking in versus the amount that we're going to be spending. If we lowered our ask by a whole mil, it was going to bring down what we took
Brought in.
to a point that what we would spend would put us in the red, and we would delve into that rainy day fund every year for the next 5 or 6 years.
Okay, and I appreciate that. So if I was to go down to 5 mils, that's 1.3 mils of your 0.5, so it'd be 1.8. So that would say about 3.5 million, say $4 million on the mill. So that would take it down to maybe 9 million on your, to me, that's a little much, and I appreciate that, but that's just for the record. Thank you so much. Yes, sir, appreciate you taking my question.
Sure.
Thank you, Councilor Collins. My colleagues asked a bunch of good questions already. I just have 2 quick ones. One of them is probably more for point of information for me, just because I'm a nerd about this for some reason, but I saw where the fines and fees went down. Is that because we have good behavior in Greenville County, or something else is going on?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
I'm just curious.
Fines and fees, it looks like it went up from 25 to 26, 131,000. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at state aid. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong line. Yeah, it went down $40,000. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, I don't know. What's that,
Yeah, part of it is, after COVID, we had a fine suspension time for COVID issues, and then we've also replaced an ILS system, our integrated library system of how everything communicates with when patrons come to check out books.
Mm-hmm.
We had a glitch in the software where it was mischarging those fines, so we suspended those fines, and that's where we just haven't quite gotten back to where we were since we re-implemented the institution of fines.
Gotcha. That wasn't a good or bad thing. I just thought it'd be good if his people were acting nice and doing what they're supposed to in the library.
We're trying to get those Barnes and Noble people in.
There you go. And the only other question I had was based around the fund balance. It says that it said that the fund balance was 1.1 million and went down to 474,000. Is there any, I guess, long-term implications of dipping into the fund balance that way as far as moving forward?
Expenditures.
Oh,
I-
yeah, go ahead, Don. Yeah.
What you're looking at, Mr. Brown, is that prior year fund balance usage.
Mhm.
What that shows is, in order to present a balanced budget so that our revenues and expenditures are equal, we will need to use $474,000 of our rainy day fund in order to balance our budget.
Right, and that's kind of what, I guess where I was going with that is since you're having to do that, if that's something you have to do multiple times, is there any long-term negative effects of that
I don't
versus?
think there will be, and the reason is we budget conservatively, just like the county does. So we will actually realize a little bit more in property tax revenue than what we budget, just like the county does. So I don't anticipate at the end of the day that we will use the 474, but we budget, our principles for budgeting are just like the counties, so we follow those same principles, and so we're showing that we're gonna use it, but we'll have salary lapse from people that just come and go in the normal operation of the business, and these property taxes, we're gonna, like everyone, the county does and other agencies, will receive a little bit more than the mill is valued at, because we project our revenues based on the value of the mill that we receive from the county budget director. So that's where we get that number from. But we'll realize a little more income than that, so I don't anticipate that we'll use that 474.
Okay.
So I don't think there will be any long-term impacts on that.
Don, isn't it true that the 1106, 1,106 from the prior year, where it shows that was the fund balance that was going to be used from last year, that didn't get used, did it?
No, it did not.
See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So all we did was just lower the number that doesn't end up getting used
Right,
anyhow, so.
gotcha. Thank you very much.
Our fund balance was increasing as while we were asking for the mill receiver.
Yeah, that's a good bit of, that kind of tells you where that millage decrease shows up right there is on what you budget for what you might have to go into that fund at, but year after year for the last few years, we haven't had to go into that fund, and so all we did was just lower what we thought we might have to go into it for, which we won't even, if everything goes like it has been for the last 5 or 6 years.
Right, perfect. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to answer all our questions about it, and obviously for my colleagues, we are discussing Greenville County Library budget millage request, and so we've heard everything they've had to say, so I'll entertain a motion if there's nothing else.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce a motion to approve.
All right, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
All right, one opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next on the agenda, we have certification of textile mill site. Mr. Reams? And I did say your name right. I always want to make sure. Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
welcome.
Good afternoon. I appreciate the chance to be here. So my name's Rick Reams. I'm a tax lawyer at a law firm called Maynard Nexon, and we're here on a textile certification, which I think the council members are familiar with the process. Thank you to Mr. Antley and his staff as well. We've been working with them, big help, and appreciate the cooperation and the assistance. I do this in a lot of jurisdictions, and it's been helpful to have boots on the ground with our staff here. So before I get real, and I'm not going to talk too long because there's nothing good about lawyers talking longer than they need to, but before I dig into this project, I'm going to give you some quick background on myself. Again, not because I want to talk long or because I want to talk about myself, but it'll give you some interesting perspective on the textile revitalization credits. So prior to me being in private practice, I was the director of the South Carolina Department of Revenue appointed by Nikki Haley. And when these laws came into being with the legislature, I was as part of that process. Now, I do not profess to be an expert on them, but I do have some perspective and history on them if there are questions from the members. So this project is in the Water Tower District in Greenville, full of abandoned textile mills. This is an abandoned textile mill site. It actually qualifies under the law in multiple ways because the property was used as part of the Poe textile manufacturing facility, which was one of the largest in the state, in fact. And so the materials that you have in your package show the use of this site for textile purposes. So it qualifies in that way. It is also adjacent to and contiguous to and within 1,000 feet of multiple other textile mills, because again, this area is full of them. It's an area that is ripe for some rejuvenation, and this project is going to be a good project that's going to take a dilapidated 9.5-acre site that has been sitting abandoned for a long time, turn it into a vibrant mixed-use project. So it's exciting for me to have been part of these laws being passed and see this coming to fruition. The developer is Greenville-based, very community-oriented, has already met with the Sheriff's Department and the Fire Department in the area, and has good plans for this project. So we're excited about it, and I'll pause there because I told you I wouldn't talk too much. I probably talked more than I should, and entertain any questions.
Well, thank you very much. And I will say, I think obviously Poe Mill's right beside of me, but I have some of the water tower district, and any revitalization that's taken place in those areas completely changed in a positive way the area. So I'm excited about another opportunity to move forward on that. So with that, I'll open this up for any kind of discussion or questions you might have. Sounds pretty easy to me. I'll entertain a motion on this one.
Make a motion
To
to approve.
All right, all in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, we will move on to the next item, which is predominantly the rest of the items. We'll have Ms. Paris come up and discuss our grant applications with us. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. And we'll start off with Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation of South Carolina grant application.
Yes, sir. This is a grant that the EMS department is applying for. The total amount is $1,804,812, and this grant would allow the division to launch a community paramedic and nurse practitioner program that is called Pre-Hospital Assisted Treatment and Healthcare Services. And so this funding would support 6 positions, 4 community paramedics and 2 nurse practitioners, 2 vehicles, and medical supplies. There is no county match that's required, and Phil Head from the Emergency Medical Services Division is here if you have questions.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions? Councilor Russo.
I just wanted to get a little more information about how this is going to be utilized and what
Okay.
communities it's going to be focused in.
I'm going to ask Phil to come up.
Oh, yeah.
Because he has all the details.
So thank you all for having me. The premise of this program is, we know, if you look at a couple other big services in Los Angeles and Austin Travis, some other places, a lot of the folks that call 911 are lower acuity patients. We have emergency medical dispatching that asks a certain amount of questions, and then it categorizes those in a certain response plan. If those folks are low acuity, then our plan is to get a community paramedic on the phone with them, to be able to talk to them about medically what they have going on, and then try to help them case manage to get them to the right aspect of healthcare. If we felt the patient needed a face-to-face visit, we can send a community paramedic out there to physically put eyes on them, do an assessment, take some vital signs, and then if needed, they could telehealth back to the nurse practitioner to take care of lower acuity stuff if they just needed nausea medications or an antibiotic for cough, cold, sniffles. And what it does is it helps just get patients the right care at the right time instead of using the most costly aspect of the emergency department. So it kind of saves some of our transports, it saves some of the emergency department. It's a popular trend that's going on for population health and just following the triple aim initiatives, just trying to decrease healthcare costs, bring the right care to the patient at the right time. So that's the premise of it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And just, I guess, maybe follow up on his question just a little bit is, and this may be what he was asking, but is there, you said there's 6 positions? Is that?
Yes, it's 4 community paramedics and 2 nurse practitioners.
And is there any plan to have them in certain areas of the county to where they can be utilized, or is that?
Well, the piece to this program is that, obviously the way the calls are categorized, to be able to manage the most patients efficiently, we would have a community paramedic that is physically in the dispatch room to be able to take the calls, to do that. The community paramedic is obviously the other one that's on duty, is going to be running out and about to see some of these folks that need that face-to-face interaction. The benefit is being able to telehealth back to the nurse practitioner to take care of things that would normally go to the emergency department. So strategically, no. But if we manage these lower acuity calls, then obviously we as a service are going to run less calls, which is going to improve our coverage of the rest of the county. So if we can help manage some of the folks that don't necessarily need the emergency department, then that does help us better cover the geography of the county.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Collins.
Excuse me. Ms. Paris, how much is in the FY25 grant fund as of today? Sorry.
Well, the fund that we have for matching grants.
Yes, ma'am.
Is 200,000, but as of today, for what we haven't committed to any match, would probably be around 120,000.
Okay, so we do have about 80,000 that's previously committed. Okay, thank you so much. And my question to
Phil?
Mr. Phil?
It's okay.
Thank you, forgive me.
No, it's okay.
Excuse me, walked 3 miles in the rain this morning. Under the application guidelines, one thing that I looked at is that, let's just go with is this a recurring grant or just a one-time grant?
It's just for a 2-year cycle.
2-year stint, correct. Okay, so my question and concern would be, I'm creating 6 jobs, correct? On a grant,
Yep.
$800,000 a year. So then the county will have to accept and merge that into their budget for EMS EOC. Okay, correct?
Well, potentially, that is an option. However, if the program has success, I believe there's funding sources through billing for community paramedicine services. I believe there's billing for the nurse practitioner. I think the calls that we are not running on a regular basis also offer a cost saving as well. Would it equal that? I don't know. One of the things that we've talked about in the grant is sustainability of the program, and a funding model and a billing model for community paramedicine as a whole needs to be realized. And so having programs like this out there are helping kind of make that case and making that happen. I too have concerns about sustainability of this afterwards. It was something that we talked about, and it's.
No, and I understand that perspective. Thank you, sir. Oh, yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
The county policy on grant positions that are funded by grants is that they are not guaranteed.
Correct.
So once the grant ends, if we do not have a funding available, then it's not guaranteed to be absorbed by the county. The department would have to ask for that in their next budget cycle as an increase. So it's not going to just automatically roll into the budget.
Correct, absolutely. Thank you. My other question is, again, looking at salaries and stuff like that, you got it listed here on the table that it'd be $180,000 for an NP, nurse practitioner. Okay, the South Carolina average is 110 to 140.
That included benefits as well.
Correct, and this did too in South Carolina.
Okay.
So I did 4 different studies on 4 different employer groups with their verified incomes.
So what I did was I went to the SCORE funding that the detention center got, and I took their numbers from what they hired as a nurse practitioner. I originally had a social worker in this as well, and I basically just took their numbers of what they anticipated and what the cost would be, and they've already hired those positions. So I duplicated their numbers for what that position would cost.
Okay.
And then I went to our director of administration that said the $92,000 for a community paramedic with benefits that came in. I just pulled those numbers straight off from either detention center or for our stuff.
Okay, yes, sir, no, I appreciate that. One of the things is the initiative enables us to connect with our community in a more impactful and meaningful way. Many of the 911 calls are low acuity, which you stated, and often do not require emergency department services. Can you quantify many?
Yeah, I would think some of the research out there that I began to dug into, you can go to the CDC website and look under community paramedicine. There's a lot of stuff. And I think there's some studies out there that say 40% of the patients that go to the emergency department really don't need to go there.
Correct. And our EMS, dispatch, EOC, do they have that raw data as well? Should they not?
So everybody that calls in, they go through a series of questions
Right.
that's going to categorize a call. Every call that comes into our center is categorized and can be logged. You can pull it, because that's how I was able to pull the numbers for Blue Cross Blue Shield for the data of how many anticipated calls we had.
Okay, because when I look at the other page, it says, the statement says, total projected number reach you put at, to start at 30 patients a day could benefit from that. And that's
Yeah.
from our EOC or a national study?
No, that was from our stuff. So what we did was Dr. Lutz, Dr. Fabiano, and a team of our folks sat down and we looked at the emergency medical dispatch codes that we felt like would be appropriate, medically appropriate to be screened and offered in this program. And of those codes that were pulled, that was the average that it came out to.
Okay, so then we said, so we're looking at probably a 9,000 number, and that would be annually?
Yes.
Okay, and then one thing that stuck out to me, it said, except for Sunday, when we don't have the service.
Yeah, so the program's going to run we looked at our data for our numbers and our call volumes, and I view an employee as a 40-hour employee. So running this program for 3 12-hour shifts from 9 to 9 during our busiest times, these are going to be divided into 2 care teams, A and B. So somebody would work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, care team A, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I don't have the hours to cover on Sundays as well.
Okay, and then on the other paragraph, it says, community buy-in. Both Prisma Health, Bon Secours, St. Francis have a vested interest in this program. Why don't they staff this and pay for it?
That's a great question. But getting people to the right aspect of healthcare resources, I would think after, we show that this works, I think sustainability of the program, the hospitals will probably play. But, we used to have the nurse call line here. I don't know if you have heard of that, but it was a program similar to this where they would call in, it was low acuity, and then those calls were sent to a nurse call line. That nurse call line was located at Prisma Health. It was really poorly staffed. It was not managed well. And so this aspect kind of fixes a lot of the methodologies of that I think will have success.
Okay, so I'm being asked to vote on something that we take the taxpayer dollars to put the taxpayer into a telehealth medicine quick response. And Prisma has the My Chart and all that is very instantaneous when I get on mine. So we're asking the taxpayer to take the risk. So when they like it, then the hospitals will take up and take it over. Presumptively, because if they like it, they would buy in. Well, why don't they buy in? And if we like it, then we can facilitate.
Yeah,
Has anybody approached them?
Dr. Lutz and I did talk to Prisma Health a couple of years ago about kind of resurrecting the nurse call line, and there was not interest at that time.
But they would be okay with this on your community buy-in. They would be vested in this to go forward.
Well, of course they would. Everybody
Of course, there's no
likes more
money in it
efficient
for it. Yes, sir.
use of healthcare services.
Yes, sir. Okay. So when you go through for county or community partners, Greenville EMS plans to engage in both the Prisma Health and Bon Secours. So you ask for payments when you deliver a patient, say, on the ALS part of the life saving. So you take a person to, say in Simpsonville, they want to go to Hillcrest. So when you drop them off in an ambulatory service, you take them to a hospital of their choice. Because we're county, we have to give it to them. And when you bill them, the EMS, what is the typical bill for ambulatory service, non-cardiac?
I'm not sure
okay.
what our billing stuff is. My division is clinical services. We have an administrative side that
Correct,
worries
correct.
about
Okay,
the billing
and
piece.
that's
now,
fair. That's
EMS
fair.
is only paid if we transport to a hospital.
Correct.
That aspect of EMS billing is broken in the system.
Right.
Because even if we took somebody to an urgent care or something, we could not receive reimbursement for that.
Correct, okay. Do we have a negative balance on the ambulatory service right now? Mrs. Paris, do you know?
I'm sorry?
The ambulatory service, do we have any type of negative balance or plus balance?
We'd have to ask the department,
Okay.
the billing company.
Yeah, okay. All right, so another question is, so if I take a guy to the hospital through a BLS, basic life support, for something that could have been done over the phone, and I get that would alleviate some of the traffic there. But I also believe this goes to the infrastructure low priorities that we've had for the last 15 years. Because, hospital beds are controlled by state legislature. Okay? So that said, so I take Billy over to a hospital. He had a broken finger. Does the county then bill his insurance company? And do we get the check, or does the customer get the check reimbursed? Does anybody know that? No?
I don't.
Okay,
think
so
I'd
if I
be
take
able to-
Billy to Hillcrest Hospital, Billy gets a check once it's filed, and then does the county go and get that check for that service, ambulatory service payment? No, the county can't go and get it. So you think Billy's gonna say, hey, here's this? So my point is, when we're going to get in all this positions of hire and started getting into the healthcare business from a county perspective, which is not a tenet of government, but we do have an indigenous fund that supports those homelessness and others that maybe can't afford it. I just think it's an overstep for a county to get involved with that if our hospitals are not willing to buddy up and at least throw their foot in the water. Oh, that's all. Sorry. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilor Collins. Quick question for Ms. Paris. Is this a long-standing grant, something we've done, I mean, not we, but that's been offered multiple times? It's not just like a one-time thing?
It has been offered before. I believe we applied last year and did not receive it. But we have had a Blue Cross Blue Shield grant before.
Okay, so it's something that, at the end of the 2 years, that if it's hopefully successful, that we could also apply to continue through the grant program?
Yeah, our current community paramedic program that exists today was funded off of a Blue Cross Blue Shield grant. There was Prisma Health buy-in at that time through the accountable care communities that was there, but that program is still in existence today and works with both healthcare systems and with our high 911 utilizers, a lot of addiction and recovery services. So.
Gotcha. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, I will entertain a motion on this item, item A.
Make a motion to approve.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
All right. The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next item is B, which is VOCA, or Victims of Crime Assistance Grant application. Ms. Paris.
Yes, sir. This grant is a grant that the Solicitor's Office applies for annually. And the total request for this year, for this upcoming year, is $45,308. The state portion of that is $36,246, and the county portion is $9,062. And the grant funding is used by the Solicitor's Office to fund a portion of a victim advocate position. Of course, those positions assist the victims of domestic violence. And the match that the counties are required to make would, if we were awarded the grant, would come from our matching grant account that's already budgeted.
All right, thank you.
And Kyle Thompson from the Solicitor's Office is here if you have questions.
Perfect, thank you very much. All right, anybody have any questions about this grant?
I just have one.
Councilor
Forgive me.
Collins. Sure.
Surprise. Again, creating a position with a grant, it comes back to that question. And then, so this is a county position for VOC, Victims of Crime. And again, I looked through the website for Victims of Crime advocacy nonprofits, and Greenville County has a few of those around here. But my question, Ms. Paris, is that does any of this, would this support the city of Greenville also?
I don't think so, does it?
Mr. Collins, my name is Kyle Thompson with the Solicitor's Office.
Yes, sir.
And this role serves victims that are being serviced only through the county Solicitor's Office. Now, some of those are victims of crimes that have been charged by the city of Greenville, but they are felony-level offenses, and
Yes, sir.
so those offenses are being prosecuted by our office.
Yep.
But it would be not limited to the city of Greenville, but throughout the county.
Yes, sir, Counselor. You have one more question, real quick.
Yes, sir.
You have 10 staff right now that performs this function for the assistant clerk or assistant solicitor.
I believe that's correct, yes, sir.
Okay. And so what warrants the increase of another position? Is it population or?
And this is not a new position, sir. This is one that is recurring. This is a grant we've applied for several years in a row and have been fortunate enough to have this grant awarded annually. And of course, we're aware that it is a grant-funded position and know that doesn't mean that it's a permanent role, but it is a grant we've received for several years. So it's not a new position, but the number of warrants that we handle has increased every year, and therefore so does the number of victims that we assist.
Yes, sir, Counselor. Thank you so much. And I understand what Ms. Paris said earlier. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Counselor. I'm good. Sorry.
Thank you, Councilor Collins. All right, anybody else? All right, entertain a motion on this one.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
All in favor of approval of VOCA grant, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you very much. All right, Ms. Paris, item C, 2025 TAP Grant, West Greenville Shared Use Path Application.
Yes, sir. This is a grant that the Parks and Recreation Department has applied for. The total amount is $1,170,000. The RTP total is $920,350. Our county match is $244,650, which would come from the Parks and Recreation budget that has already been approved for FY25. And the city match, there is a city match for $5,000 that the Greenville City has said that they would provide for, since it borders their city limits. And these funds will be used to construct a 0.6-mile shared use path between Brandon Mill and Judson Mill in West Greenville along an abandoned rail line. And Don Schuman from Parks and Recreation is here if you have questions.
All right, thank you very much. I'll let my colleagues start. Any questions on this item?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, I do.
Councilor Collins?
Okay, so I'm looking at the TAP fund, which is Transportation Alternative, $920,000. Local match, $244,000, as you stated. Local match is city. So they feel that's about how much the trail interacts with the city limits, because I think they're about $125,000 short.
I agree.
I agree.
It's 100% in the county at this point.
Absolutely. And the county is Greenville County, and
Yes,
all
sir.
use it. Yes, sir.
Yes,
So if the county here, in my opinion, is a core function, does not pave trails. The county puts traffic lights and turn lanes and pave our roads, not trails. If the city wants this, the city can pony up $125,000, with all due respect,
Sure.
or I'm of no vote. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor Collins. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, I would mention that the $5,000 is part of the scoring, where you have multiple entities contributing. You get points for that, and the city would continue the trail in the future throughout the city. So that's why there's that partnership.
All right, thank you very much. And that kind of answers my question, which was, is there an expected expansion of some degree of the trail at any point in time? So that kind of lets me know what they might be considering there.
Yeah, it's basically connecting the mills at
mills
this point.
together, yeah.
Right.
But then the city would also work with UGATA to continue expanding it south.
Right. All right, and I would just like to say, I'm a very big quality of life person, so I only pushback or counter to Councilor Collins, I would say, is I think we do have a responsibility for our citizens to consider some pavement that's outside of roads even, because citizens have to get off the hot roads and get somewhere. And I know I've only been able to exercise on the Swamp Rabbit Trail, so that's where I get mine. But that's just the difference of opinion. So thank you very much for coming and speaking to us. And
I got a question.
Councilor Farmer.
Is the city of Greenville looking to annex Judson Mill anytime soon? Does anyone know? I mean, I don't figure anyone would know, but just gonna ask.
I would simply say, just from my experience, that it's a commercial piece of property and
Right.
it's the city,
Yeah.
any city. So, yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
If I could make one more comment, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Collins.
You know, I've asked for 3 traffic lights to be put in roads and intersections in my district that have had multiple deaths. And I come down Verde last week, and I see a traffic light on a walk path across Verde. And it went up seemingly overnight. But yet, we want to pave a trail, and I can't even get a traffic light in my district. And I understand, sir, I really do. I appreciate your, but, man, it's going to be hard for me to explain that. Thank you, Chair.
Councilor Collins. So on item C, 2025 TAP grant, you want to make a motion on this one?
I make a motion to disapprove.
So the motion is to deny.
Yes, sir.
All right, all in favor of denial of this grant, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Aye. All right, so this one is denied. Thank you very much. All right, move on to the next item, which is D, FY 2026 Byron State Crisis Intervention Program Grant Application. Ms. Paris.
Yes, sir. This grant is being applied for by the Sheriff's Office. The total amount is $107,778. There is no county match required, and this would be used by the Sheriff's Office for personnel and travel costs for a crisis intervention specialist for the homeless response unit. And Dave Ruth is here from the Sheriff's Office if you have questions.
All right, thank you very much. And I'll take a point of privilege, I guess, and just say ahead of time that this entire crisis management group has done amazing things in District 19. I know other districts too, but I've had to call several times, and the assistance that they give is something that all citizens of Greenville County should see how it actually works, because it's pretty impressive with the different people that come in and offer assistance. So just wanted to say thank you before we even get started there. Having said that, would anybody like to ask any questions about this particular grant? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. We'll move on to item E, Outdoor Recreation Roundtable Rural Recovery Grant. That's a lot of R's. Application, Ms. Paris.
Yes, sir. This is another grant that the Parks and Recreation Department is applying for. The total amount is $10,000. There's no county match required, and these would be used to remove downed trees in the forest surrounding the archery range, the nature center, and related paths at Camp Spearhead. And again, Mr. Schumann's here if you have questions.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions on this grant?
Yeah, those trees didn't burn up just now?
No, sir, we didn't, no damage was sustained at Camp Spearhead or Pleasant Ridge.
That's good news.
Luckily.
Yeah, that's really good news. So, that's all I got.
Any other questions on this one? All right, I'll entertain a motion before I start asking that.
Motion to approve.
All right, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. We'll move on to item F, which is Palmetto Pride Grant Litter Prevention Application. Ms. Paris.
Yes, sir. This is a grant that the Public Works Department has applied for, or actually they were awarded the funds, so we're asking for approval of the award. It's a total amount of $5,000. There's no county match, and it would be used to support a litter prevention campaign that's aimed at reminding the public of the state law requiring the secure transport of items to prevent litter and ensure road safety.
All right, thank you very much. You might have any questions on this grant? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Move on to G, which is SC JAG Grant 360 Camera System Application. Ms. Paris.
Yes, sir. This is a South Carolina JAG grant that the Forensics Division is applying for. It's for a 360-degree camera system, an all-weather kit to enhance crime scene documentation. The total amount is $27,096. The state portion would be $24,387. Our local match would be $2,709 and would come from our matching grants account that's already budgeted. And Captain Jackie Kellett is here if you have questions.
All right. Anybody have any questions on this grant? And this is and you might have just said it and it skipped my brain, but this is this replacing existing equipment or expanding capacity or something new?
Hi. No, sir, it will supplement our existing 3D laser camera systems. Those are great laser systems, but they're time consuming, and could take anywhere from an hour, hour and a half to scan a room because they're taking measurements and photos. This 360 camera would supplement that. You would put it in the room, and it's done in like 4 seconds. Cool. So greatly speed up the crime scene processing time, get the officers out of there, and get a hold of that critical evidence quickly.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. All right, any other questions? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Move on to item H, which is SC JAG FTIR for 4-year Transform Infrared I can't say that word. I
Just
tried to
say
I'm
say
not
it.
going to say it
I,
either.
I tried to say it 5 times today.
Okay, this is a,
Yep, please go ahead.
okay. This is another JAG grant that the Forensics Division is applying for $80,175. The state portion is $72,158, and the local match is $8,017. That would come from our matching grants account that's already budgeted. And it would to replace the existing FTIR equipment, which has become obsolete. That's all I'm going to say, and let Jackie talk now.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions on this one? Do you know what's the projected lifespan of the word I'm not ever going to say again?
What, the what?
The projected lifespan of the equipment, is there?
It's about 10 years.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
it has done its job well, but there are no longer any replacement parts available for those systems. And if it goes down, we're in big trouble in the drug lab.
Right. All right, thank you very much. All right, entertain a motion on this grant.
Make a motion to approve.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. We will go on to item I, which is FY 2026 SCDES Waste Oil Grant Application. Ms. Paris.
Okay, this is a grant that the Solid Waste Division is applying for. The total amount is $12,462. There is no match required, and it would be used by the division to fund equipment and supplies for the county's oil collection facilities and also provide funding for public education and professional development. And Marcia Pappen is here from the Solid Waste Division, or Andrew Talkish, they're both here if y'all have questions.
All right, thank you. Any question on this one? Just for information for the public that might be watching live stream, what kind of equipment could we be looking to purchase with this money?
Absorbent materials mostly, specialized equipment to clean up after citizens have disposed of their waste oil in our containers.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. All right. Anybody else, or entertain a motion on this grant?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. We will move on to J, which is FY 2026 SCDES Waste Tire Grant Application. Ms. Paris.
Yes, sir. This is on behalf of the Solid Waste Division as well. The total grant request is $68,174. There's no local match required, and this grant would partially fund the Solid Waste Division's contractor costs for current generation tires.
All right. Thank you very much. Any questions on this one?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Collins?
Yes, sir, thank you. When I was reading over this, and I, again, did my research on this, and it's very well, what does partially fund?
The state will give us a state tire fee money based on our population. We
Okay.
charge a tipping fee. This covers the spread between the tipping fee and the state tire fee. And the reason there's a spread is there is a state requirement that we can only charge, the maximum we can charge for disposal or recycling is $150 a ton. Our costs are about $250 a ton, so the state tire fee money almost covers the spread, but sometimes towards the end of the year, they will reimburse us for any expenditures that first we have to cover, and those are only contractor costs, they're not our operational costs for the waste tire fee.
And are you upside down on operational costs, even?
It is, they've never paid the operational costs, that's a requirement.
That's what I saw, yeah.
We do have some legislation that we keep banging up against the state to try to get them to release us from the obligation to only charge $150 as our max cap. It was put in the 90s when it was like $35 to recycle a ton of tires. Now it's $230. So we are grateful that we can get any little extra money beside the state tire fee. We don't want to pass that cost along to our industrial customers or our commercial or residential customers.
And I agree, that would probably not go well. The other thing I have is, we just passed a tire ordinance, a couple years ago. Is there a fee that they charge at the landfill to drop a tire?
Yeah, well, residents that have a few tires, like you decide for some reason at the dealership, say, no, I want to take those home, and then your wife makes you take them out of the garage, you can bring those to the convenience centers for free. There's no charge to citizens. But if you're a used tire dealer or, and you're bringing the tires to us, we're going to charge you $150 per ton.
Per ton, okay, yes, ma'am. Okay. Is there ever been a thought, and this is just outside the box, so forgive me, to incentivize bringing tires to the landfill? And I understand the balance of your charge and what you're supposed to get reimbursed, I understand that. But any leftover grant money that we could do to say, hey, nonprofit or anybody, if you bring a tire to the dump, 50 cents a tire or $1 a tire, just outside the box, because there's a lot of tires laying in everywhere. So you would think the clean water and air people would be all over this because they're interested in clean water. And you look at a lot of the ditches around our county, especially certain areas, they're everywhere. Or there's a lot. Let me say that. There are a lot. So is there any thought of maybe what an incentive program might look like, or is that feasible financially? And I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Forgive me.
Well, we're an enterprise fund,
Correct.
so that's an operation collecting those tires, and the state bans them from the landfill, or maybe you could have an incentive program where you bring these in, but this group goes to the landfill and the rest gets recycled.
Right.
It's a state law that we can't put them in the landfill.
Right. Correct. When I say landfill, I don't mean like bury them. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So-
but what my question is, follow on to that is, it seems like if we were to try to get a fee in lieu of tax for a company that recycles these tires, that would almost be a beneficial win-win and again, that's probably outside the realm of this conversation, but
No,
just
but
an idea.
everyone in the state would love that because there's only one tire dealer. That's why we're in this place
That's correct.
we're in,
And that's
so.
what's driving the price up in there. Yes, absolutely.
But the actual taking of the tires is fraught with a lot of fraud. The recycling rarely happens. They get paid to take the tires, they hide them, and then they run away.
Yes, I understand that. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. That's all the questions I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Collins. I have one other question for you. I'm sorry, just this.
Hi.
Hello. With the total funding, the 68,000, and again, this is more just for citizens. I like them to get an idea of what the work actually is. How many tires would you say that this funding would help cover as far as dealing with this kind of stuff? If you had to guess.
Well,
None
if
of
you
it be
divided $230 into that number, that would be the number of tons. A tire weighs approximately 25 to 35 pounds. Truck tires are little, pickup truck tires are a little heavier than passenger tires. So it would be in the couple of 1,000 maybe. I'm just guessing. But
Sure.
I'd have to sit here and do math.
I just
I'm in the landfill business
I just
because I'm
knew that you
horrible
were
at
smart
math.
enough that you'd work through it right there and give the answer. I would have never asked it, so I appreciate that very much.
Well, we know that we spend about $800 every time the tractor trailer leaves the facility. So that's about 13 tons right there. So-
Right. Well, that's why I wanted to draw attention publicly just to why we need some of these grants and this extra money, because some of this stuff costs a lot more money than what most citizens would think.
Tires
it does.
do. Our tire budget, well, we do about 3,500 tires, tons of tires. So that's a lot of tires. We send, what do you think, 2 tire trailers a day out of the landfill? Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of tires.
Absolutely. Thank you for answering that question. I appreciate it. Anybody else? All right, entertain a motion on this one.
Motion to approve.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We'll move right along to K, which is FY 2026 SCDES Solid Waste Grant Application. Ms. Paris.
This is another grant the Solid Waste Division is applying for a total of $15,038. There's no match required. And the grant will be used by the division to refurbish and relocate a vertical cardboard baler.
All right, thank you. Any questions on this one? I have my random ones, but I'm going to wait on everybody else first. It says refurbish and relocate. I was just curious as to where it was before and where we'll be taking it to.
Yeah, so currently it's at the landfill. It's been there a while. I believe it was purchased with a grant years ago. It's been backed into. We've kind of harvested it for parts for all of our 6 other centers have balers, and they're all the same. So this one's kind of the one that's was forgotten about. I've had it looked at by a dealer. They said the shell is good, just needs to be rebuilt. So it would move from our shop to our e-waste area on the property.
Okay, got you. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Entertain a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We'll move on to the last one of this one, which is Carton Council Community Education Grant Application. Ms. Paris.
Sir, this is a grant that the Solid Waste Division has applied for. It's $2,000, no match required, and it would be used by the division to supplement the project that was just discussed, the cardboard baler project. So they were able to use funding to support some of their SCDES grants, and I believe they're going to use that for, am I correct? We're going to use that for the baler project, for the baler project. So,
Okay. Excellent. Any questions on this one? I don't even have a random one, so I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Ms. Paris.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for everybody for coming tonight, and I will entertain one final motion.
Motion
Make a
to
motion to
adjourn.
approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Have a good evening.